Hello everyone, today I'm joined by Alexey from Alexey's Carcassonne channel, and he's a bit of a Carcassonne specialist, currently ranked over 700 ELO. How's it going, Alexey?
Can't complain. Yeah, thrilled to be on your channel.
So you're going to be giving me a bit of a coaching lesson today. I would consider myself not a beginner at Carcassonne. I haven't played a lot, so I'm probably missing a lot of the fundamentals, but I would say maybe an intermediate player. Okay, I'm just gonna start queuing. I've put it on slow timer, so hopefully I'm not gonna run out of time. So how long have you been playing Carcassonne for?
I learned the game in 2011, so that has been a bit over 10 years. And then in 2012, I won my first national championship. And in 2013, I went to my first World Championship in Carcassonne, which is held every year in the German city of Essen.
Wow.
And then I got third. And then I've been playing on and off ever since.
Okay, I found a match. So my opponent started with a monastery.
Okay, that's a great starting tile.
Yes.
So it's always a good idea to meeple monasteries at the start of the game, because you see what happens now. Now you will, of course,
I'm gonna help them out.
place the tile. Yeah, and you're forced to help them.
How important would this placement be? My estimate would be not very, because there's only so many combinations I can do. But I guess I want to meeple the 2 road here just to get some sort of points on the board.
You do. The first 3 or 4 moves will come
Pretty
with a
natural.
meeple.
Okay, yeah. Here it's telling me I only have 1 placement, and I'm unfortunately going to help him again. So I think I'd rather build the castle sort of upwards, so that I'm not helping his monastery more with my future castle tiles.
Great thinking.
It's got another monastery.
Yeah, so we are at a bit of a disadvantage now, because these monasteries will be built up very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have 2 decent moves now, but let me know what you think.
Okay, my thought is just get 2 points on a road. I'm gonna be building up to keep away from the monasteries. I don't want to be helping him at all, so I'm just gonna get the 2 points for the road.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So you want to be getting as many quick points, that's the competitive Carcassonne lingo for these kind of moves, as possible, because you can score points without an investment of a meeple.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing well. They're starting a new city, and what they want to do, they want to eventually draw a curve and then add 1 point to your road next to their monasteries,
Yes.
but add 2 points to their monasteries at the same time.
Right.
Luckily, we can start thwarting their plans here.
Oh, okay.
At the same time, whilst helping yourself, of course. Ideally, in a 2-player Carcassonne game, you want to be making moves that both add points to yourself and make it harder for your opponent to build stuff.
Well, I think obviously adding to my castle is the idea. Were you looking at placing it there?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So do you see the threat that you're creating, in addition to adding the 1 point to your city?
I guess I am threatening to make a very awkward road there so they can't fill in that little gap.
Exactly.
Or, yeah.
If you draw one of the 3 remaining triangle cities with a road, or one of the 3 remaining triple cities with a road, then you will be able to block 3 of Red's meeples at once.
Oh,
and of
yes,
course, you will be blocking your own meeple with the road, but 3 versus 1, that would be a fantastic scenario. Not happening now.
I guess I'm just continuing to work on my castle.
It is a decent move, and you can play it, but at a higher level, there's a stronger move, I think.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell it after you place, but maybe you can try finding it.
Is it potentially placing under their city to try to steal it from them? Because that seems like a low ELO move to me. That's like what I would do if I'm playing with my family.
Well, maybe that's not that wasn't such a bad idea at all, because the upside, if you don't steal, you still get to finish another city and just complete it, score 6 points for it or something. And what this move does here, you've added 1 point to your city, but now it's a bit awkward to finish it. Because ideally you want to be finishing this kind of city with triangle city tiles. But now what this move does, you're going to need 2 city cap tiles,
Right, it's a bit
and
inefficient.
your opponent will still be able to attack the city.
What do they have? Yeah, okay, they're starting.
Yeah, you see, so they are dropping a farmer, which I think is premature, but also I'd say that your farmer was premature. So now you can make a natural move. You can either continue your city, or you can start a new city somewhere on the left or up top, because there are 2 empty city caps, and typically, you want to be picking up empty stuff lying around, because that's actually how you get an advantage over your opponent. But now there's a much stronger move that we talked about earlier. Can you see it? Can you make something very nasty for your opponent?
Oh, I absolutely can, and I can. So if I'm gonna mess up their city, there's. Oh no, I'm not messing up their city. Wait, yes, I am. So there's no point trying to steal the city if I'm messing it up. But I'm pretty sure that this is your move.
Exactly. So of course this move you play it without a meeple, because, well, it's okay to meeple this road. Maybe a little bit risky, but it's fine. And then that road that you have on the left, you actually do not want to be continuing it now, because you want to be continuing it with curves. There are a lot of curves remaining. There's still 8 curves in the deck, and you want to create a loop of 4 points. I see actually 1 or 2 good moves here.
I don't really see. If I'm not continuing my road, I don't see any. I am noticing that I'm running out of meeples, so I don't particularly want to be committing another one. And if I'm not committing another one, I'm just sort of, I'm not sure. I'm going to place because I'm running out of time.
Oh, you can. Oh, okay. That was actually a really good move. And to be honest, I didn't see that. But I think you could have totally meepled that road as well. With 3 meeples,
yes.
You still have enough to score quick points. And now we get a dream tile. And finally, in the game, we have an advantage. So where do you place it exactly?
Yeah. So just, making sure I finish this city. And this is a 2-point road.
Yeah, and you already have another road open, and you already will be needing curves somewhere. So here it is not the best idea to commit a meeple.
Okay, they're getting their quick points. Okay, so now it looks like I'm just going to be starting another city.
Actually, with this one, I would recommend against that, because this tile is a bit awkward to start a new city. If you will need 3 more tiles to complete it. And probably at that time your opponent will be able to attack you. So maybe try find a move that doesn't do anything for yourself but kind of bothers your opponent a little bit.
Okay. That has potential too, I believe.
Yeah, that's a great idea, I think. Because in the unlikely event that your opponent manages to save his meeple on the left, there's still 1 tile that separates your opponent's city at the bottom from the blocked piece of city at the left next to your opponent's monasteries. Then at least you've created a platform to try to connect or somehow disrupt that city. I think here there's only 1 good move, because your opponent is creating a threat. What is your opponent's threat right now?
I have no idea. So if I'm looking at the board, they've got a decent-sized castle up here which I can attack, but when it comes to like field tactics, that's where I struggle.
Well, for field tactics, it may be a little bit too early in the game. Okay. There is 1 field which is worth 9 points. It is currently shared at the moment. Yeah. We will need to attack it later probably, but not with this tile. You've identified correctly. Your opponent is only 1 tile away from completing a 10-point city, and there's no way in the world how we should be letting them do that. Well, actually, here I think you have 2 good moves. One of them involves a road, and the other one sort of involves a road and involves some farmers.
Okay, I see a 3-point road move, which is probably what I'd do if I was just by myself.
Yeah, that was one of the 2 good moves, absolutely.
Whoa, they chose not to meeple the monastery. What do you think about that?
I think they are afraid that they're running out of meeples, but I think in this case it was a mistake. They still have one more meeple left, and these monasteries can be built up very quickly.
Yeah, I would always look to meeple the monasteries with the highest priority, I think. Oh, they got another one.
Well, this one they had to meeple. It's just too good to leave. Okay, so now we have one very, very strong move. It has something to do with roads, obviously, because it's a road tile, but it also has something to do with field.
I see it. That's the move, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you see, now you've accomplished two objectives at the same time. In Carcassonne, it's even in multiplayer Carcassonne, in expansions Carcassonne, doesn't matter. It's good to be able to find moves which do multiple things at the same time. So you got a 6-point field, which is likely to grow, and you also continued your road, and you see now you got your meeple back, and soon you will be able to have a meeple advantage, because your road on the right will be finished at some point. There's still around 8, I think, tiles that can finish your road. And now again, you can do 2 things at the same time. Well, actually, you can do a lot of things.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. I mean, the first instinct for me was to sort of claim this 2 castle spot, but it's too open, I think, and I don't have many meeples left. So my other thought was just to naturally continue my castle up here. But at the same time, if we're sharing the castle, it's probably not going to net me any point advantage.
Exactly. You got to remember that Carcassonne, especially 2-player Carcassonne, is a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
So if you add 1 point to your city at the top, well, it won't do you much. So these city cap tiles are actually great for starting new cities, because
I got it.
City caps...
Yes? No?
Oh, that's great. That's fine. They connect. They have a 2-point city. We have a 2-point city. And it was just a simple meeple exchange here. I see 2 good moves that you can do. One of them is quite difficult to find. It has to do something with disruption of your opponent's plans. And the other one is helping yourself a little bit. So there's one move here that actually adds point to your opponent, but in this case is super strong because it takes away points from your opponent in the long run.
Then I have no idea what that move is. I'll be honest.
That's fine. You can just play a move. I can tell you after.
Yeah.
This is one of the 2 moves, actually. So this is the one that helps you a little bit because, well, you now have 3 points in that sort of mini battle of meeples. Your opponent has 2 points. Well, you get the same tile. Yeah. Will you able to find that other move, perhaps? It looks like it's helping your opponent, but it actually isn't.
Oh. This could be really wrong, but I'm just going to go with my instinct and do the move. Did I just help them a lot?
Yes, well done. So It looks like you helped them, but actually, what you did, you made sure that their city cannot grow further, because you've added 2 points to their city, but there are tiles that can give them 3, 4, 5 points, and so on. And also, we made sure that their red city meeple is now connected to the blocked city piece, so red will never ever be able to get his meeple back. So I think here, right now, what you needed to do, instead of adding 1 point to your city, we have only 1 meeple, so we need to get meeples back pretty urgently. Yeah. You had to finish your road on the right with that tile, but now we can do that later still. There's still tiles left to do that. There's a pretty juicy, lucrative move with this curvy tile, if you see it.
I do. Yes, I do. It's all about getting the free quick points.
Exactly. This is true in multiplayer, this is true in expansions, and this is true in competitive Carcassonne as well. Well, now we're we're in a predicament. There are 2 decent moves, but one of them is sort of risky.
If it's spending my last meeple, I would probably not consider it in a match, but it would be trying to get a second meeple on this big city down the bottom.
That wasn't my move, because this city will be not as valuable as a meeple. Like, when you have having one meeple and having 0 meeples, it is a huge difference. Especially if your opponent manages to somehow trap your road meeple on the right, then you will be left without meeples for the rest of the game, and you will be able to score no more points.
So I really need to hope to find a tile that just gets my road meeple back.
Exactly, and until then, all you can do is to sort of drop tiles in places that mildly help you. But there's one decent move, I think. So I think instead of this move, you needed to prevent your opponent from scoring these 4 quick points. You see, there was this little city cap on the right that your opponent just took. But it's fine, it's fine. I'm happy with anything here as long as it's not one move that I'm particularly thinking.
Well, the odds that I pick out the one move that you don't like is very low, I think.
And it's exactly the move that I don't like. But the question is, why? Your opponent is 1 tile away from doing something sinister. If they get a curve, they can add 1 point to your road, but loop the curve facing that little city pieces, and then they will trap your meeple permanently.
The last meeple, would you be placing it on a monastery here?
In this case, no, especially since our penultimate meeple is so vulnerable.
Okay.
So I would just drop the monastery somewhere. Yeah, that's good, in your field.
Yeah.
Getting some squares. Your opponent, fortunately, makes a mistake. Okay, that's great. Then you get your meeple back, which I think is the utmost priority. It's even better than scoring the 4 points on the left. You can do that later. And another thing that your opponent did, they invested a meeple into a 3-point field, which is not enough for a field. And now we have 17 tiles remaining, and we will just try to beat your opponent with the meeple advantage. However, make no mistake, they're still ahead because they have 16 points for the monasteries.
Right.
But you have now one quite strong move that has something to do with the fields.
I think I see it. Yeah, I'm just going to go with my gut here. I think I see the move.
Great move. You're scoring a 9-point field. And for your viewers who may be not sure when or when not to meeple a field, 9 points is typically a good cutoff in 2-player games. And in multiplayer games, even 6 points can be good enough. So now your opponents got quite a lucky tile. They managed to share your field. They've gotten their first farmer. So now you both score 9 points, which is the same as both scoring 0 points. Can you remedy that situation? Can you make sure that you start scoring 9 points for this field again?
In one move? In this move?
Not in one move. That's never possible. In 2 moves.
Yeah, I see how.
Yeah, great move. So even though you've placed a farmer on a 0-point farm, it is only 1 tile away from being connected into the big 9-point farm.
Yep.
And there's still, I didn't do proper tile counting, but at least 3, 4 multiple tiles that can do that. This is one of them, for example.
Yep.
So we were quite fortunate to get that on the very next move. And of course, it is our last meeple, and we cannot use it to...
So what am I saving my last meeple for? Is it just for these quick point scoring opportunities? Is it to make sure that I have a farmer if I need it in the last turn?
It's mostly for quick points, because these 4-point cities, they really add up. Imagine like 2 2-point roads and 3 4-point cities. It's already like 16 points. It's more than any of the farms that we have on the board. So now it would be a mistake to try and start a new city. Instead, you got to be taking quick points now. So we've got a great tile. The question is, which city cap do you do, on the left or on the right? And of course, I'll tell you after the move which one I think is better.
It would have to be the right.
Well done, but why?
Because it's another point for the farmer, for the field. Another
exactly,
three.
Another 3.
Yeah.
So normally when you have options, you want to be finishing cities in the field that you currently control. And even if you're not finishing a city, if you're starting a city, you also want to do that in the field that you're currently control. So now there's not much that we can do with this tile. I'd say it's a bit early to commit your last meeple, so possibly you can just drop it somewhere that maybe protects the field somewhat, because your opponent will be looking to take away these 12 points from you.
Okay, I think that would be a good spot to protect.
Yeah, it's a good spot. So your opponent now tries to connect, and I can tell that they still have 2 tiles left to do that. It's actually going to be a super close game. So I think the move here is sort of obvious.
Okay, just the other 3 points. Yeah. I don't really see how I can stop them connecting.
What we can do is we can try to reconnect. So that was another alternative. But if we commit our last meeple, we might actually still lose the game. Because we got to do some point counting. We're currently at +4 on the scoreboard. Your opponent has 16 points for the monastery. That's -12 for us. We have 3 points for the road. That is -9 for us. Your opponent has 5 points for a city. That's -14 for us. And we have a 6-point field on the left. That's -8 for us. If our opponent ties the field, we will be at -8. So we just need to make up 8 points somehow. And there's a way for you to now almost guarantee the win. So what would be a natural move to that you can do with this tile?
I'm looking for a long road to finish, but I don't see any.
So you might need to go for a short road instead.
Okay, there's a 3-point road up in the top right.
Exactly.
I don't see any longer than that.
So now, if your opponent connects, we are going to be 5 points short, but this will mean that we need to only get 6 points in order to win. But the question is, where can you get the 6 points right here, right now?
Oh, right here. Okay, well, I can't close the road, so it's got to be to do with fields.
Exactly. So where do you see some good fields?
The bottom left, they kind of neglected, so there's a couple of spots I can get 6-point fields.
Exactly. Yeah, great move. And now your opponent is probably have to drop this tile somewhere. They still have... Oh, and they just conceded. That will make things less instructive. But yeah, well done, well done. I think they conceded because they possibly they were counting points. They didn't get the tile, but they still had one more tile remaining after that. And I believe there was still one curve for them remaining to connect, so they could have hoped for it. But even had they connected to the field, you would be winning this game by just 1 point, which of course would have been great content, but we'll take the concession. We'll take the concession.
They were scary for a 200 ELO player.
They absolutely played much better than 200 ELO, but so did you. So
yes, I had a lot of help, and yeah, only just winning by 1 point.
So let's maybe just do a quick recap. What can we learn from this game? So I can see several things. One is monasteries are very powerful at the start. Your opponent put 2 adjacent monasteries next to each other, and that way, by adding 1 point, 1 piece of road next to a monastery, your opponent automatically scores an extra point for both monasteries, and he built them up quickly up to 16 points, which is quite a lot, which is more than any other feature on the board. It's even more than this 12-point field. But in order to mitigate this advantage, you're able to block these monasteries to make sure that at least your opponent doesn't get his meeples back. So they ended up being trapped with 3 meeples, but you had only 1 road meeple trapped. Then you did an important thing, that you never spent your last meeple. Of course, there are some rare exceptions from master players, but you have to assess the position really, really carefully in order to be able to spend your last meeple. So if you're new to Carcassonne, Just don't spend your last meeple period,
Ever.
unless, of course, there are only a couple of tiles remaining, in which case, by all means, please do.
I did really like this move that, yeah, I would not have seen if I was just playing by myself. The connecting the two city tiles in the center next to the monasteries and just completely messing up any future plans I had of that city. That's something I definitely would not have seen.
Yeah. That's something from that can happen in higher level games. So for beginners, it's a little bit harder. In order to make that move, you have to at least know which kind of tiles exist and which kind of tiles don't. So this move only works because there's 0 tiles that fit into that hole next to red's monasteries and next to your road.
So you've obviously played a lot of games of Carcassonne. How many games do you think it took for you to memorize all the tiles? Like, did you just naturally learn them as you went, or did you put some time aside and go, I'm going to learn the distribution of all the tiles and memorize them?
I don't think I ever sat with a piece of paper and tried to memorize them like wordless. All I had to do is just play a couple dozen games, actually,
Yes.
and just pay attention to what's coming out. Of course, I was looking at the list as well
Mm-hmm.
at some point, but it really doesn't take that long, and it makes a game of Carcassonne much more enjoyable when you know what to expect, and especially when you can plan ahead. The next step after that is knowing how many of each tile there are. So not just what kinds there are, but how many there are. And that would probably take a couple of dozen more games, unless you're willing to spend an effort to really study if you want to just do it naturally. And then, of course, you can start, like at the highest level, you can start counting probabilities and all that kind of stuff by knowing how many tiles of each kind there are remaining, what are the chances that your opponent is going to get the tile that they need, what are the chances that you are going to get the tiles that you need. But of course, you can play very good Carcassonne games even without going that deep.
Thank you, Alexey, for the coaching lesson. Anyone that's interested in Carcassonne content or even Azul content, Alexey is also a master in Azul, currently a top 5 player. Go check out Alexey's channel. I'll leave a link to it in the description, and thanks very much for your time.